practical strategy for deploying digital signatures and seals in AEC processes. This is Nancy Johnson. I'm the editor-in-chief at Cadalyst magazine. I'll be moderating the presentation today. I want to thank you all for joining us and taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. So let's jump right in. Today we'll be hearing from John Marchioni, the Vice President of Business Development at ARX, the developers of the CoSign technology, and one of their customers, Brian Hase, who is Chief Technology Officer at Agile Frameworks, which is part of Braun Intertech, about his experience using CoSign for digital signatures. Real quickly, a couple of housekeeping issues. We will be reserving some time at the end of today's presentation for a Q&A. So at any time during the presentation, please feel free to type your questions into the question panel that you see on the right of your screen, and we will get to as many of those as possible after we wrap up the main part of the presentation. We will be recording today's event and making it available to you all, as well as the slide deck. You'll receive an email within 24 hours of the presentation that gives you a link to those resources. So without further ado, I would like to introduce John Marchioni from ARX to tell you more about the CoSign technology. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Nancy, and welcome everyone to our webinar. Just as a way of background, I'm going to give more information on framing the issues around automating signature processes. There'll be less focus on our specific solution, but of course you can ask any question you like about the product, and also Brian's experience as his company has implemented it and is using it daily. So let's jump in then. So what's the problem? We know that firms increasingly need to automate their business processes. This has to do with eliminating paper bottlenecks and any friction in the information flow due to not having things electronic. We're seeing a large shift, and we've all seen this large shift with the advent of things like automated workflow and document management and electronic content authoring applications. And there is a huge investment going into these larger productivity applications. But one thing we've observed is the business or the component of the process that has to do with signatures tends to get overlooked. So you've made your investment in the workflow or the content management or the content authoring application, but when you need a signature, what are you doing? You're hitting that print button and producing a piece of paper. You are recontaminating that otherwise automated process with a thing that you just made a large investment to eliminate, which is the paper. So the point is, signatures, the signature component of automating your business should not be overlooked because it can unravel or undo your investment that you've made in those larger systems. So we want to, this presentation today is all about stimulating some thought about, not overlooking this and why it's important to consider signature automation to have a fully automated process. Okay, and why is that? Well, we know wet signatures cost a lot of money. They cost in terms of printing and shipping overhead, scanning costs. Pushing paper through a review process takes a longer time than pushing an electronic document through a review process. And this results in delays in the delivery of a project or just in the delivery of getting that approval. Okay, it slows everything down. And there are a lot of signature-dependent documents. There are a lot of signature-dependent processes, more than maybe what most people think about. In fact, we saw a study from AIM 2 years ago that said in the 389 organizations that AIM surveyed, 50% of all documents printed were printed for no other reason than to collect a signature. And that same study also looked at this engineering and construction market and found that this is a vertical industry that is very signature intensive, that this industry, more than just about any other industry, has the most to gain by automating their signatures, by automating their signature-dependent processes fully. And here are just a few use cases or examples of how our customers use CoSign, some of the things they use to sign CoSign with, and the list is actually a lot longer, but just to give you an example, okay? So what's the potential of digital signatures? If we look at a couple of our customers, we look at Hatch. This is from a webinar that Hatch did last month. They estimated the cost of a wet signature is $80 per drawing. That's the overhead and all the handling. And they have large multipliers of these things, meaning 5,000 to 15,000 drawings in one project. And they also experience the delays and the friction introduced with paper. So there's a huge potential savings here. This is a good example of how the engineering and construction, the mining industry, for example, can benefit from signature automation. And then Brian can speak a little later about how Braun Intertech has seen savings since automating their signature processes. Some of the data points here are a single process involving signatures, once automated, can avoid $100,000 per year in overhead. There's a reduction in the cycle time for that process, and delivery of these processes, delivery of the tasks, goes from weeks to minutes, down to minutes when you get rid of that paper. So big potential if you're using digital signatures to automate your signature-dependent processes. Okay. How to go paperless? There's unfortunately probably some psychology involved because people are so used to signing with pen and paper. But your organization has to decide once and for all. They want to minimize their paper usage, not just go through the motions. But this is an intentional step. These are all intentional steps that you have to take from a corporate culture point of view. You need to decide you're going to eliminate paper as a critical process component. It should not be relied upon. Paper, in many ways, is less reliable in terms of integrity than a proper digital signature on an electronic document. You actually get more reliability in terms of integrity and knowing that was the signatory on the document if you're using a digital signature. And then you also get these other benefits where you're eliminating overhead, you're keeping your processes electronic, and this is all a result of deploying that standard digital signature capability. Okay. So how do you address these anxieties or the psychology of going paperless? Well, it has to do with education, advocacy, and exposure, informing your employees, your users, that there's a better way, and you have to promote it, and you have to let your users try it. I mean, one thing we've experienced is once our customers start using CoSign, you would have to actually fight them to take it away. It becomes something that the users like to use, the users get satisfaction out of, the users understand, and you get good user adoption. So what I'm trying to convey here is that the deployment of CoSign is a quick win for everybody because the users tend to accept it quickly and start using it. They quickly get, because of that exposure, get over their fears and discomfort with this component of automation, and it gets them off their addiction to paper. It helps wean them off of it quicker. and you get to market as a success. It's an IT investment that you will get an immediate and measurable return on. It's clearly measurable because you can count the number of documents that get signed. You can count the number of pages of paper that get printed, or the FedEx or UPS envelopes that get moved from place to place. These are all very clear metrics that everybody from the CFO on down can observe an improvement in your bottom line. And if your bottom line is improving and you're doing things faster and more efficiently, your top line will improve as well. You'll be more competitive. You'll be able to respond to your customers faster. You'll be more agile to serve your customer when a change order is introduced. Things just happen faster, and with a digital signature, you can still have the control and integrity you need. So what I'm about to describe here with this primer is how this standard digital signature mechanism works. Okay, it's something that the user doesn't see, something that the user never feels, but I present it so that people can get a feel for what is behind this mechanism, the standard digital signature mechanism that is so reliable that should make it easier for you to get over your fear of using or automating with digital signatures, as it's a very robust and well-reviewed technology. So the way it works is your user will open a document that they would like to sign. They may fill in some information. They may just review it. When it comes time to sign, they'll click a sign icon or a sign button. And the first thing that happens is the document is passed through a special cryptographic algorithm called a hash algorithm. And this is based on the secure hash standard from NIST. This is FIPS 180-3. Okay, it's a well-known, well-peer-reviewed open standard. And what the hash does is it produces a unique digital fingerprint of the document. No two documents will ever have the same fingerprint or hash value. In fact, this is so refined, you could view it as the digital DNA of the document. Okay, and it's hypersensitive to change detection. The hash is what is used as the main integrity component of the digital signature to ensure that any tampering with the document can be detected if it happens. So what I mean by it being sensitive is if I take a document and I hash it, I will get a specific hash value, a definite digital fingerprint of that document, okay, represented by 256 bits or ones and zeros, okay? If I take the same document and I change just one character, a very small tamper, I change a lowercase a to an uppercase a, and I rehash that document, several bits in the resolving hash are going to flip in value. Okay, it's not the same document, and the hash confirmed it. Something's changed. It's a different digital fingerprint. It's a different digital DNA. Okay, so that's the hash component of the digital signature. The other components involve the signature credentials of the signatory. The person making the signature has a set of signature credentials made up of a key pair and an ID certificate. Part of that key pair is a private key. This is a large 2048-bit integer that is unique to that signer, to that user. No two signers will ever have the same private key value. Okay, it's impossible. And therefore, you should, continuing on that analogy of DNA, think of the private key as the digital DNA of the signer. Okay? And the way the signature is made is we take the private key of the signer and we calculate a cryptographic operation over the hash of the document. And the result is the digital signature. Think of it as an encrypted hash of the document. Okay? And that encrypted hash has contributions, a unique contribution from the document, which is the hash value or the DNA of the document, and it has a unique contribution from the signer. It has the signer's private key was involved, so the signer has also contributed some of its digital DNA. So think of the digital signature as a child that's unique to two parents, one parent being that specific document and that specific signer. Okay? So it creates, the digital signature process creates a very strong binding between document and signer. And when you sign something this way, you cannot later deny that's your signature. Okay? Very strong binding between that specific document and that specific signer. The next step is we take the certificate of the signer, which it's an identity certificate. It contains the identity of the signer and the corresponding public key of the signer, which is used to verify the signature. And we put that into a signature block, and then that is embedded as the digital signature at the metadata level into the document. And then any attempt to tamper with either the signature or the document will invalidate the digital signature. So it won't be relied upon. It shouldn't be relied upon if it's been tampered with. If the signature is valid, it does verify, you can rely on it. Okay? So keep in mind, everything that I just described happens in a second. The end user doesn't feel it. The end user doesn't get involved with it. But it's a very robust standard for digital or signature automation or digital signatures. So what's the benefit of using standards? In this case, digital signatures are superior to proprietary techniques because the standards on which they're based have been thoroughly and openly vetted and peer-reviewed. This is the primary difference between a standard digital signature and a proprietary electronic signature. The standards have been properly vetted and every year are reviewed to make sure they're still robust. And they're endorsed openly across the industry. When you look at a proprietary technique or you consider a proprietary technique, keep in mind that proprietary techniques are not openly peer-reviewed. And across the board, all of them are vulnerable to forgery or other attacks. Not so with a standard digital signature. And then standards also prevent vendor lock-in or vendor gridlock, meaning if you sign a document today with, say, for example, CoSign, and you sign a PDF, and you send that document outside your organization, any number of PDF readers from Adobe, from Nitro PDF, from Foxit to Nuance can all recognize and verify the CoSign signature on that document without any connection to the CoSign system. So this prevents what we call vendor gridlock, meaning you can sign your document today, send it outside your organization. The person receiving it can inspect and verify the signature with a free piece of software, and it keeps your business moving along. You don't have to wait for everybody you're working with to also buy CoSign to verify your signature. Okay? This is another benefit of interoperability. And standard digital signatures are already supported, like I said, in addition to Adobe Reader. You have Nitro PDF, you have Foxit, you have any number of others like Nuance, Autodesk, AutoCAD, Bentley MicroStation, Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, any number of applications and workflow platforms support this standard. So when you're considering automating your signature processes, what should you consider in the digital signature solution? Well, the digital signature should maintain document integrity, and you get that as a default property in the standard. That's the secure hash standard or the hash value. The solution should be compatible with your content authoring applications, meaning it's not enough just to apply the digital signature standard, but you need to make sure the solution applies it in a way that the native application can then recognize and verify that signature. And out of the box, for example, CoSign applies a compatible signature that's recognizable by Adobe, by Foxit, by Nitro, by Nuance, by Autodesk, by Bentley, by Corel, by Lotus, by Microsoft Word, Excel, InfoPath, Outlook, by StarOffice, OpenOffice, many web applications, and so on. So when you invest in CoSign, you're getting a universal digital signature capability that allows you to work in the specific document context that you're used to working in. You're not buying a solution that only works with PDF or only works with Word, for example. Okay. The signature should bind the signatory to the document and seal the document for tamper detection. And again, this is something that you get with CoSign, something that is inherent in the digital signature standard if it's implemented properly. Okay. Your signature solution should be compatible with your governing policies, for example, for managing your users and authenticating your users. This is something else that you get inherently in CoSign. When you install CoSign, CoSign is driven by your user management system, the one that you've currently installed for both driving the signature policy and driving when to grant somebody signature privilege or when to revoke the signature privilege. So CoSign, out of the box, works with things like Active Directory, IBM Tivoli, Oracle OID, OVT, anything that's LDAP enabled. So you don't have to retrofit your infrastructure for user management or user authentication. CoSign will key off of those policies, procedures, and systems that you've already invested in and have established. And then finally, your solution should allow you control over signature privilege, when to issue those credentials for signing, when to revoke them. And this is something else you get with CoSign. When you add a user to your directory, CoSign is listening and will immediately issue signature credentials for that user. Likewise, when a user loses signing privilege, all you need to do is remove them from your directory. CoSign is still listening and will immediately delete the private key and revoke the identity certificate for that signer. So this is a very refined control over signature privilege management, and also allows you to rapidly issue signature privileges, but also when somebody loses signing privilege, you have a tight control over ensuring that they can't make even one more signature after they've been revoked. Okay. So let me show you a couple quick demos of digital signatures in action. I'll start with a simple Word document. I will. This is somebody asking for a vacation request. I'll right mouse click and click sign. I'll get a preview of my visible signature. And I can choose from any number. I can choose one that's a different ink color. I can choose one with my company logo behind it. I can just choose my initials if I like. So I have any number of appearances of the graphic signature that I could use if I wanted to. And then I'll click the sign button. I will be prompted with an identity challenge. Give me your username and password. If I answer that correctly, what has now happened in the background in a second is this document was hashed, and my specific signature credentials, my private key and certificate, were employed in making my unique digital signature on this document. Okay, so everything I described in that process before just happened, and happened in sub-second speed. And if I right mouse click on this and I want to see what's behind the signature, and this is, I'm in Word, Microsoft Word will show me the details of the signature, who signed the document, when they signed it, and will also show me the identity certificate, who it was issued to, who it was issued by, and its validity period. So the identity and the integrity of the document now is expressed in the form of this digital signature. Okay. If I'm in a workflow and I need a second signature on this document, I simply pass it to the next person. In this case, I'll pretend to be my manager, and he'll say, "Okay, have a nice trip." He'll add some comment here, and then he can also sign. So in this case, I'll sign with a logo in the background. Okay, even though I'm the same person in this case, I'll answer the identity challenge, and now I've signed this document again. Now, you may have noticed something here. I've changed the document. I've added some text, but this signature up here is still valid. Well, why is that? Well, if I right mouse click and I say show me the signed area, I can see that the first signature, the scope of the document it applied to was just the first section of the document. And since nothing in the first section changed, that first signature is still valid because it only applied to this part of the document. Now, if I do change something in this part of the document, I'll change this 18 to a 19, we can quickly see Microsoft will no longer say these signatures are valid. Somebody's tampered with this document. Don't rely on it. Okay? And there are other features here. For example, if I want to be clever and I say I'm going to print this document with the green check marks, I'll change the 18 to the 19, and then I'll come up here and hit the print button. What will happen is the integrity check before the document is sent to the printer is recalculated, and what will print are red X's, not green check marks. Okay? So simple demo in Word. Let's look at one in PDF. Here I have a PDF document. I'll right mouse click on it and say sign with CoSign. I'll get a preview of the document. If I think everything's okay, I'll double click on the signature field. I'll choose, in this case, I'm going to choose one with a professional seal, a graphic image that has my professional engineering seal from State of New York. And I will click sign. I'll answer the identity challenge. And if I do, now you can see I've digitally signed this PDF. I will save it. And then I can send it wherever I wish. That person only needs to open it in, I think I'm using Nitro PDF here. That works the same in Adobe Reader. I will open the document. I'll scroll down to the signature line. And I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but if I look at properties, I can see signature is valid. Again, just like in Word, I can see all the details of who signed it, when they signed it, and why they signed it. And this actually demos a little better in Adobe Reader. I think I was just trying out Nitro PDF this last week. So there's an example in PDF. One more example in PDF, freeform. If I click sign with CoSign, this document does not have a pre-established signature field. Just to show you, you can sign things freeform. Let me increase this a little bit. I'll go up to 125%. I can use this feature, drawing a box where I want my signature on the document. I can choose the appearance, click sign, answer the identity challenge, and same thing. Now I've applied a signature on the document freeform in a location that I wanted. Okay, so that's a couple quick, crude demos. It's not too hard to use, and gives you all the properties of of a standard digital signature. So just as a review, digital signatures are open standards. They're peer-reviewed. They're vetted and endorsed by standards bodies like NIST in the U.S., ETSI in Europe, ISO internationally, IETF, WC3. A digital signature will always give you a visible confirmation if the implementation is done well of the integrity. Is the integrity of the signatory intact? Yes. Is the document integrity intact? Yes, you'll get a green check mark. If anything's been tampered with, you'll get a red X. The point is a digital signature will ensure that no tampers ever go undetected in and along your electronic process. Okay. This is part of the demo I just saw. Just showed you what does it look like for users in Adobe Reader. You'll see a little green check mark up here, and you'll always see a visible signature. You can drill down and look at the details behind the signature. And in this case, you'll see proof of the signer's identity, proof of signer's intention by reason code, proof of the date and time, and proof that the document has not been modified since the signature was applied. Okay? So when you have this sort of evidence in the document, this is what allows your business process to move with less friction, because the properties of trust and integrity are carried in the signed document itself. You're not having to access external systems or logs to check the integrity. Everything is in the document. So what you're doing when you're digitally signing a document is that act of signing it actually transforms the document to a legally enforceable record, because it carries the evidence with it. And this prevents misunderstandings. When the evidence is in the document and can be viewed at the same level by all the stakeholders, the chances for a misunderstanding, who signed it, when they signed it, why they signed it, and what they signed, nobody's going to disagree. So when you're employing this sort of a mechanism in your electronic process, this avoids misunderstandings. Misunderstandings either slow things down or can unravel things. So this type of clear evidence ensures that you'll have less misunderstandings in your electronic process, okay, and integrity and trust. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Brian Hase from Agile Frameworks. And Brian, please let me know when to advance your slides.
Okay, thanks, John. And also thank you, Nancy, and everybody else for joining us. Maybe give you a little bit of context first. Agile Frameworks is, in fact, a wholly owned subsidiary of Braun Intertech Corporation. And to give you some history to talk about why Braun Intertech chose ARX, just to start with, back in 2005, we were noticing all of the things that John talked about relative to the signing process. Just a lot of use of paper. Documents had to be printed, to be wet signed, and then scanned in. So not only the paper, but also the imaging costs were involved in that. And then, of course, the electronic document doesn't really fully indicate your document store, because the signed document ends up being what you need. So you need the scanned document as well. And of course, a scanned document is generally an image. So you lose the text quality of the document, which is a problem in various enterprise content management or document management solutions, because in order to do full text searching, you of course need a text document. And so there are all these various issues that we noticed back in 2004, 2005. And so we were looking for a solution, and I really had three things in mind when we were doing that solution search. Number one, we were looking for a solution that was standards-based, something that used the non-proprietary standards, the standard digital signature, and the PKI, the things that John talked about. And that was important because we wanted the interoperability. We wanted to know that it had some legs under it and that it had the approval of the various standards bodies. The second thing I wanted was something that was relatively turnkey. We were developing solutions for the business, and I did not want to have to put my development team on a different track and ask them to start developing a standard-based digital signature solution, I was looking for a product that more or less could give me that black box that I could bring into the organization, and we could get up and running and get going fairly quickly. And we actually did, in very short order, start using this ARX. Finally, the third thing I was looking for was something that offered an open API. We were developing solutions, line of business solutions, and I wanted something that I could actually call and utilize and exercise an API such that I could embed more or less the signing process into that application. And so those were the three criteria, and of course the ARX CoSign product was really fit the bill for us. The business problem, the business challenge is that Braun Intertech, as an architectural engineering and consulting firm, does a lot of work in the field, does a lot of documents. Hundreds of thousands of documents are created, and those are really project deliverables for the various lines of business that Braun Intertech conducts. And of those hundreds of thousands of documents, many of them require a signature. And they'll require a signature either in the case that John was examples that John was giving for credentialing purposes. Practicing engineers, Braun Intertech employs many practicing engineers. Other sorts of credentials, for example, certified inspectors, require a signature. Sometimes they go along with a seal. Sometimes they go along with a certifier ID. So there's that credentialing piece that often needs to be associated with documents that are produced. And secondly, as a symbol of quality, Braun Intertech wanted to be able to say, you know, when we apply a signature, that is our sign of quality, that something has been reviewed, and that the engineer, for example, approves of the deliverable. So those were the business issues we were trying to solve. And then finally, in terms of the business issue, we noticed that as we built our process-based solutions, and we've developed these end-to-end process solutions, the need to have to print up a document in the middle of the process, wet sign it, scan it back in, was not just the addition of cost. That really basically became a showstopper for creating an end-to-end automated business process. So that's why we chose ARX CoSign. That's what we implemented in our solutions. Agile Frameworks as a wholly owned subsidiary was actually formed in 2011. And we actually have taken these products to market. We're actually a partner of ARX now, taking this to market, and part of our solution involves, we call it powered by CoSign. So maybe, John, you can go to the next slide, and we'll talk about some more detail. So again, here's the overview of Braun Intertech. Again, Agile Frameworks founded in 2011. We brand our signature solution Agile Stamp powered by CoSign. And that is particular for AEC firms who actually license our Metafield product. But we also look at it as in a larger sense in terms of what John demonstrated, that it goes beyond our products. Hold on just a moment. I lost my slide. So our board of directors decided to roll those out and actually market those products. Let's move on. So again, the costs end up being falling into many categories. I think that what we address in what we try to address in the automated solutions all boil down to a couple of different things. First of all, cost avoidance. And to the extent that you can bring in process efficiency and effectiveness, you are going to avoid that cost. You're also going to avoid, as I said earlier, the cost of paper, the cost of imaging, and the cost of postage when you're using electronic documents with a standard digital signature on them. And so if you are continuing to use wet signatures, you are not taking advantage of what this type of technology can give you, which is that cost avoidance. And to the extent that you can leverage it in your organization, you can actually generate a competitive differentiation with other organizations in your industry. Another thing is the service quality. Addressing service quality in the terms, and often people think in service quality, they think turnaround time as one of the properties of service quality. The ability to turn things around quickly and meet clients' needs faster than what your competition may be doing. And then finally, risk avoidance. John talked about this in terms of your documents having that embedded within them, that credentialing, that credentialing child with both the original document as well as the signer's identity embedded in that hash on that document. So let's move on a little bit and we'll look at some more specifics. So our workflow in our products involve the entry of field information. And that field information needs to be qualified, it needs to be reviewed, and at the point of that field information is actually a report is being generated. We stamp a signature on it. And as John showed you, there can be many kinds of different signatures. It can be a PE seal, it could be a personal signature with the logo, many different options for doing that. And I think here, as you see on this slide, there's a workflow where if you have to generate paper as part of the workflow, then you're dropping your efficiency in managing your projects and your processes. It's not that necessarily that you're eliminating paper from the office, and that was kind of a platitude of the old days where we're going to have the paperless office. The idea is you eliminate paper from the process. Paper can always be printed, but if it becomes part of the process where printing and scanning has to occur, then that efficiency has just been affected in the negative way. So the seamless process and the ability to the open API, as I mentioned earlier, to be able to build your business process and then directly work with the CoSign service in your business process. That's a big reason that Braun Intertech chose it, is because we could create a seamless process for people to sign documents. Braun Intertech probably signs more than 150,000 documents a year. And doing those effectively and efficiently without having to print and scan is very important, and as you can imagine, is a significant cost reduction. Let's move to the next slide. So what do we see? What have we seen? Well, since 2005, we've been a customer, Braun Intertech's been a customer of ARX. And our very, very conservative estimates have shown us that we're probably saving $100,000 or more in simply the cost reduction of labor. The postage, the generation of paper, the imaging, and every image we get charged for, that goes into this. But labor is a big part of this when, for example, a single engineer may have to approve 100 documents a day. The ability to go in and say, I've reviewed all of these 25 documents. I would like to stamp every one with my digital signature, is a big part of that reduction in cost. And John said this earlier. Once your users have used this, whether they're using it with Agile Frameworks products or whether they're using it with the other tools that John talked about, or their PDF, Word, out of whatever the case may be, your content authoring tools, your users, once they get used to this, will not want to go back. In fact, I've had several people call me after they left Braun Intertech and mention to me that they wish they had the digital signature capability because they've noticed the difference after missing it. This has really been, we didn't expect this to be a large source of savings for us because we were looking at just making the process run smooth in terms of our business solutions. but it actually has saved a lot of money. And again, like I said, our users will not go back. I believe we have another slide, John. So some of the takeaways are, first of all, being able to, when you're developing a business process, is that you want to create a solution that is relatively simple. And it's relatively simple whether you're signing a Word document or whether you're embedding the signing process in some other application. And you can create a user experience that really leads towards users using this often and really wanting to be able to apply it to many different areas of the business. The allowing multiple signatures per document. We've found this to be very useful for things like major proposals or contracts, where what we have is multiple executives that need to sign a document. And in the past, we would use overnight mail, and we'd have everybody put their wet signature on things. Now that process can be expedited because we have one user after another sign separate sections of the document, maintaining the integrity of the digital signatures on there, and then being able to send that document out quickly and efficiently. Portability is very important. The idea of portability, and John can talk to this more, I'm sure, the idea of taking the signature service wherever you are, whether you're a remote worker, whether you're running an application on the web, the ability to sign wherever you are. The ability also in the fact that this is standards-based, and that's an IT component of portability, which means that it can be integrated with all kinds of content authoring tools, whether they're proprietary that you develop in your own organization or whether they are commercial solutions or products that you buy on the market. John, did you want to add on this slide?
I think you captured it. What the standards do, and I think this is one of the more interesting things, is it makes your signed record atomic and self-contained, meaning it can move from place to place in a portable way, and because the signature can be inspected and verified, that mobile record has effect wherever it lands. It has legal effect, it has business effect and force. So this is one of the key benefits of these standards.
Thank you, John. Thank you for adding that. If you move to the next slide, then we'll. So on this piece, on this slide, we are a regional company, and the idea is that we can manage the integrity of our electronic documents going, from wherever they are going, and we apply a level of management and control over our documents, especially when you consider that document management systems or enterprise content management systems become part of the mix in there, and the archiving of electronic documents is really the way that most companies are going. Instead of having the reams and reams of paper and file cabinets, the electronic archiving is really the way of the future, and that's the way that Braun Intertech is moving as well. The idea of managing signature privileges, professional credentials. This becomes part of the secure store in the provider. So in the CoSign authority, for example, Braun Intertech, or I should say Agile Frameworks, is an issue of those certificates and credentials and controls those at a global level. And of course the automated workflow, which we spoke of earlier, this enables you to build electronic signature into that workflow. Okay, John?
Okay. And I think that brings us to the Q&A part of the webinar, and we'll hand it back to Nancy for that. Thanks a lot, Brian.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Right, thank you both. So we just have about 10 minutes left in the presentation, and we've got several great questions. I'll just jump right in. Question one, the wording is, for architecture, we're not seeing many municipalities accepting digital or electronic signatures. And what about states? Are they accepting co-signed documents?
So, Brian, I can comment on that, and then if you would like to add, fine. Basically, at the state level, there was a statute called UETA that was signed in 1999, ratified at the state level, and all states have now, as of 2003, I think, comply with UETA. There are 4 states that have modifications to UETA, but they have some form of UETA that gives legal force and effect to digital signatures. I think where people tend to get confused is there are organizations or geographies or provinces where they don't accept electronic content. And where you don't have electronic content, you cannot have a digital signature. So if the place you're working in insists on paper, you can't have a digital signature. However, if they allow electronic content, the digital signature should certainly be accepted and have legal force and effect.
I would just echo that, John. Agile Frameworks, we are marketing on a national level, and pretty much every state that we are working in, we are seeing accepts the electronic content and digital signatures. So,
great, thank you. What about a topic that I know is really popular among our readers is the engineering seals. John, is there anything more you'd like to add about how those can be incorporated into the digital signing process?
Yeah, so basically when in the CoSign solution, we allow the organization to centrally manage this digital signature credentials along with any number of graphic images. So we have customers that have engineers with PE seals in all 50 states and maybe 5 provinces in Canada. And they will store all of their professional seals in the secure CoSign appliance. This is a FIPS secure appliance. And when they hit that sign button, they get to choose from a pull-down which graphic image, which seal they would like to apply. I gave one example where I had a New York PE seal. Basically, when you sign with CoSign, you're applying 2 things simultaneously with the same integrity. You're applying the standard digital signature and that graphic image. And any downstream tampering once signed with either the graphic or the digital signature or the document will invalidate the digital signature. So the digital signature puts a seal, a tamper-evident seal, over everything, including the image of the PE seal.
A quick comment on that one, John. We found where it's been an unexpected advantage for the seal credentials to be maintained in the CoSign appliance. Oftentimes organizations have trouble, maintaining the security of these rubber stamps. Who has access to them? Who has the keys to the file cabinet they're contained in, etc.? Well, I mean, that's built into the CoSign appliance. So once those PE seals are digitized and part of the credential in the appliance, you in effect have that control in place.
Correct. The CoSign appliance was designed to ensure that no third party could access any signatory's signature credentials or signature function. That's inherent in the design of the CoSign solution. And now that same protection can be extended to the seal. The PE seal can be stored in the same protected area along with the digital signature credentials. Yep.
So a couple of questions about file formats, John. As far as file formats supported, and when it comes to sending a document for digital signature to an outside user, clarifying what type of software they need to have on their end. We have users, AutoCAD and other CAD solutions, Photoshop, those sorts of solutions that there's a lot of non-users out there among their clientele. How does that all fit into the picture?
So to verify a digital signature, you don't need any CoSign software whatsoever. To make a CoSign digital signature, you will either need to have the CoSign agent installed on the application server, if it's a web or cloud server, or if the document happens to be on the desktop, you need to sign on because the document's on the desktop, you have to sign on the desktop. You will need to install a small CoSign agent on the desktop. So it depends on what application you're using. If it's cloud-based or web-based, there's an agent that installs on the server. And it depends on where you're managing the content. If the content's managed in the cloud, everything's in the cloud or in the network. Everything stays in the network. If your content is on the desktop, you have to sign it on the desktop. So there you would need a CoSign agent.
What about compatibility with specific CAD solutions, particularly AutoCAD, file formats, Revit, MicroStation, those types of solutions that are popular in AEC?
Right. So under Autodesk, AutoCAD, and MicroStation, we provide the agent in a way that Autodesk and AutoCAD expect to have the key provider and the signature provider present. Okay, so as far as Autodesk and AutoCAD, once the agent is installed, it's seamless. You'll have a user interface in Autodesk or MicroStation that gives you a signature button. When you push that signature button, that application, Autodesk or MicroStation, automatically communicate with the CoSign agent for the purpose of applying CoSign signature features to that content. Okay, but it's all done through the native interface of Autodesk or MicroStation.
Thank you. So I think we have time for maybe one last question. How about, so architecture and construction professionals are a very mobile group. Can you talk for a second about the mobility, the accessibility to CoSign and the digital signature process from mobile devices?
Sure. So CoSign supports a mobile web strategy. So if your application is available through a standard web browser, you will be able to make a digital signature on the document, and it doesn't matter if you're accessing it through a mobile device, a pad device, or a desktop, but you do have to have a full-featured web browser either on the accessing device, and your application has to support web access. In other words, you know, some people get confused. They believe that full documents are pulled down to mobile devices, and then when they are pulled down, they're maintained in the same electronic format as when the document is on a desktop. This is a big misnomer. What people don't understand about what's going on in the background, when you view a PDF on your desktop or you view a Word document on your desktop, it's a different binary representation than when you're viewing those things on a smartphone. Okay? Because the smartphone has a completely different operating system, different interpreters, different viewers. So you don't pull the document down to the smartphone for the purpose of making a signature. You view the document from your smartphone. The document is best maintained on a centralized server, and then you can still hit a sign button from your mobile phone and have your signature applied to the document. But the document object cannot be transcoded, signed on the mobile device, and then retranscoded and sent back somewhere else. If you do that transcoding, you're basically tampering with the representation of the document. So that will ruin the integrity check of the digital signature. So when it comes to mobile devices, the best strategy is still a mobile web strategy where you're accessing and viewing your documents through a web browser. Okay.
Great. So no special web apps necessary. It all just automatically transports itself to mobile device if your company.
Yeah. There's a new tagline here. There's not an app needed for that.
There's no app for that. No app needed. Yeah.
No app needed. No app needed for that. Yeah.
Right. Got it. Thank you. So we're running a little over. I better wrap up. Just want to point everyone to the ARX website for more information, arx.com. Fantastic website. If you head over there, there are all kinds of details about the software, about digital signatures. There's, if you look under the resources tab, there's an FAQ page that addresses a lot of the common questions about CoSign. And there's a free trial available for download, which is always great. And don't hesitate to contact the company directly by email at sales@arx.com. There's also a nice big orange button on their website that facilitates that process. As I mentioned earlier, we have recorded this presentation today. We'll make that recording available very soon, as well as the slide deck. Within 24 hours, you'll all receive an email with a link to those resources. That wraps up our presentation today. Thank you, John Marchioni from ARX. Thanks to Brian Hase. And thank you to everyone who took the time today to join us. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye now.